Happy Birthday by Gojira 007. Resting under the leaves of Bloomberg Jr. had become something of a birthday tradition for Applejack. It did not matter that the trip up the relatively stout hill was becoming harder and harder on her creaky old legs. Whenever she reached the top and felt that firm bark on her back, those young strong roots under her legs, she was content. It gave her a chance to really think and come back on the day, and on the years that stretched out wider and wider before it. This year's party in particular had been quite an experience, even though Pinkie Pie was no longer around to help throw them. Even as all old faces left, new ones came. She could still smile at the warm memories and happy moments she shared with the loved ones. Apple Bloom's gift had been especially wonderful. She had officially announced her engagement. Even now, Applejack was beaming with pride, strong enough to bring a gleam of her old orange coat back to her faded brown. She simply couldn't wait for the wedding. But as she entered Bloomberg Jr.'s comforting shade, the aged Earth Pony found herself face to face with a vision she knew wasn't possibly real.
Happy birthday, darling.
Rarity greeted in her all-too-familiar sing-song voice, a strange ethereal echo to it.
It's been too long.
Applejack stared at the unicorn lying in front of the tree with eyes wide and unbelieving. Her coat was even more white now that Applejack remembered. It was practically glowing in the midday sun.
You can't be here,
the Earth Pony whispered, even as her mind shouted 1,000 different things instead.
I've missed you so much, even if you're not real. I'm so happy to see you again. You left too soon.
She received an all-too Rarity smile in reply.
Come now, dearie. If all our adventures together taught us anything, surely it's that anything is possible.
No, not this.
Applejack replied.
No matter how much I wish it were.
Nonetheless, she found herself settling down next to the unicorn.
Perhaps I'm simply just your imagination, then,
Rarity said, nestling her head on Applejack's haunch.
Or maybe I'm just the messenger telling you what you know in your heart. Either way, you know it means something when I say it's time to be with me and Fluttershy, Rainbow Dash, and Pinkie Pie.
I'd like it to be, truly,
Applejack said softly, and she did, no matter how close she got to the spectre before it felt too far away of her, and then drove her aged body wild.
But I can't go just yet. Apple Bloom, she's getting married soon, and I ain't leaving without making sure I see her through it.
The unicorn laughed a little, letting her snout nuzzle along Applejack's back.
Stubborn as ever, I see. But
said.
I understand. Do take care, darling. Till next we meet.
And then suddenly, Applejack was alone. A few birthdays later, and Apple Bloom had happily wed. The ceremony had been magical, to say the least. Princess Twilight Sparkle herself had officiated, and every last apple in all of Equestria had managed to attend. That had been a couple of years ago, and now Applejack once again found herself trekking up to Bloomberg Jr., ignoring how much each step hurt. It was nothing in comparison to the happiness she felt at getting to see how much her sister glowed alongside her husband. And again, she found she was not alone by the tree. Big MacIntosh was waiting for her, his red hide glowing softly, just as Rarity's had, his voice carrying that same gentle echo. "Hello there, sister," he greeted calmly. "Happy birthday." This time, surprise had only lasted for a moment. Instead, she was quicker to embrace the joy of seeing another familiar face she had been forced to say goodbye to long ago.
Hello to you too, brother,
she replied, sagging down onto the ground as she crested the hill. "Heard our littlest apple went and got hitched," Clydesdale said proudly. "I only wish I could have been there myself."
It was something, Big MacIntosh.
Applejack sighed happily, blowing a frayed strand of graying hair out of her face.
I think it might have been a bit too loud for you, though.
He shrugged, tousling her head playfully. Seems like a pretty high note I'd to go out on, he told her, a strange mix of love and firmness to his words, especially since I can tell how tired you are. Applejack groaned a little as she stretched out.
Tired is underselling it.
She said.
But, well, I ain't ready just yet. Apple Bloom and her new hubby, they're thinking about having full soon, and she'll need me there to help her figure out what's what.
Big MacIntosh sighed a little, giving his sister a gentle push on the shoulder. Stubborn as the day is long, he said. Some things never change. The younger sibling felt her eyes fluttering closed.
I promise,
she said.
You and Granny and the girls, I'll be with you soon, just a little longer.
And Applejack was again alone. A few more birthdays passed. The leaves had begun to fall of Bloomberg Jr., and the fields of Sweet Apple Acres found themselves regularly played through by the wild pair of apple fillies Apple Bloom had mothered. It was, admittedly, a little hard for Applejack to make out their latest antics through her one good eye, but she could see enough to smile as the wide cracking lips would allow.
Good kids,
she wheezed as she made her annual trip up on the hill, and she had come to expect there was some pony waiting for her. This time, though, it was two some ponies. Where Rarity and Big Mac had glowed, this pair shined like shooting stars, and Applejack felt her cheeks ready lined with tears as she croaked out.
I was hoping it'd be you this time.
Happy birthday, sweetheart.
One of them spoke with a father's love.
Did you have a good one?
Applejack nodded as she nestled between them. She was older now than they had been when she lost him, yet she felt it like a fall in their presence. A mother's caring voice said,
You ain't wearing my hat today, darling.
I gave it to Apple Bloom this morning.
Applejack said, each word wispy, each breath strained.
Told her we was both ready for that.
And you?
The father asked.
I think so,
Applejack answered, focusing her one good eye on the farm as best as she could.
Apple Bloom's marriage is going swell, and her kids are doing great. I don't think there's anything left she needs from me.
She felt a lump in her throat.
I'll miss her, though. I wish there was more time.
Her mother nestled again against her cheek.
That's the thing about time, Sugar Cube. You always wish you had more.
Again, Applejack nodded, but she took comfort as her eyes closed and her breath slowed. She would see Rarity again, and Big MacIntosh, and her bairns, and one day, Apple Bloom too. And so she left with a smile on her face. The end.